Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's NJBIA Business Growth Roundtable. We're giving everyone a second to come in from the waiting room. And while we are waiting for that, let me share with you a little information on our program. All right. Welcome to this month's New Jersey Business and Industry Association's Business Growth Roundtable. We created this show because we really want to equip you with what you need to succeed.
This event is ideal for business leaders who need to stay up to date on strategy, technology, and trends to grow their business.
So let's get started. Hello, everyone. I am Donna Miller, Chief Visionary Officer and founder at C3 Works, where for the last 30 years, we've been helping companies to accelerate their growth by providing advisory and support services around biz dev, operations, and finance. What we do is we allow growing teams and companies to focus on that which truly drives their business forward. Our clients know that by bringing us in, we are going to build efficient, connected, and executable systems, whether they execute or we do, helping them to lay the foundation to build a company that will run and grow without them involved in every little detail. Want to talk about scaling? I'm happy to set up a call. And now let me throw it over to my fabulous co-host, Rachel Durkin.
Hello. Thank you, Donna. And my name is Rachel Durkin. I'm with Paradigm Marketing and Design. We are a web branding, marketing, and sales enablement agency that specializes in working with clients with a complex sale. So if you have a sales team and you want to increase the number of leads that they are getting and improve their closing rate and cycle, we can help build a marketing to sales infrastructure that will make that happen. And this event would not be what it is without our very amazing sponsor.
We are thrilled to have the team at Summit Place Financial Advisors join us as a sponsor. Summit Place Financial Advisors provides personalized financial guidance for successful individuals facing complex investment, tax, and estate planning needs. As an SEC registered firm, they work solely in the client's best interest, offering holistic advice without selling products or earning commissions. So we thank our sponsors.
You're muted.
Thank you, Anthony Arena. As always, give us a little update on what's going on at NJBIA.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate it. Welcome, everyone, to this session of the Business Growth Roundtable. It's a new year, so it's our first one of the year, and we are thrilled to have you all here to help join us on this session. I'm Anthony Arena here from NJBIA, like Donna said. For those of you who are new to NJBIA, we are the nation's largest statewide business association. NJBIA is dedicated to supporting companies across the state, and we're always guided by our core principle, business at the center. We also do offer a lot of other customer engagement opportunities through our sponsorships, our magazine, both in-person events, virtual events, our digital opportunities on our website. We have our podcast, Planet New Jersey, and our television show, Minding Your Business. And we also have some strong affinity programs that we offer clients that come on board. We have such as payroll, 401k solutions, healthcare, HR support, and our partnership with Plymouth Rock for helping you save money on auto insurance. So please check us out on the website. I will drop my information in the chat. And just to share with you some upcoming events taking place at NJBIA, we have our leadership series taking place on January 20th. This will be the first of the year, and this will focus on cybersecurity essentials for New Jersey business. And also, one of our biggest events taking place in the new year is our public policy forum on January 30th at the Princeton Marriott at the Forrestal. Mikey Sherrill is scheduled to attend. So if you need more information for that, please feel free to reach out and also check our website, njbia.org. Thank you. And now I'll turn it over to the fantastic Donna Miller.
Why, thank you, Anthony. So before we start with our presentation, and what a topic. We're all talking about AI, right? It's every month I'm learning something different, which is fabulous. So, but before we get into the presentation, a little bit of housekeeping. We are recording this. You will get a link to the recording, so take what notes you want. You have a chat window here, and you are in a room with a lot of people. We have a pretty good sized crowd. You are in a virtual room with a lot of people who are interested in what you're interested in. I would suggest you introduce yourself and consider doing a little bit of connecting in that chat window. Um, the other thing I want to let you know is we will allow some time at the end for Q&A. And again, with this size crowd, we ask you to please use the Q&A section of the Zoom meeting. The chat window gets a little unruly. So we will allow for Q&A at the end. And the other thing I want to mention is register now for our February Business Growth Roundtable. I'm multitasking and I'm going to drop the registration link in the chat. Oh, yes, one-handed, and I did it. We're going to be talking about, are you thinking about selling your business in 2026? And for those of you who are thinking, who have sold, which, as some of you know, I've been transitioning my company. It is a long game play. So consider registering for this webinar and get yourself prepared to sell in the not so distant future. So with that, I would like to welcome Michael and Chris to the stage. For more than 20 years, Stealth Technology Group has helped organizations grow, mind their security, and be innovative. Equipped with a strong understanding of both technical and business priorities, they deliver IT services designed to adapt and scale over time. Serving clients across many industries, including nonprofit, engineering, professional services, financial services, and medical, Stealth Technology Group helps transform IT from a cost center to a revenue driver. That's kind of magic. So I'm going to hand it to you two guys. I'll be in the
All
background here.
right.
Holler if you need me, and take it away.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Donna. Much appreciated introduction there. So, good afternoon, everybody. So, 18 months ago, the question was whether to embrace AI. Well, that debate's over. Today, AI is rewriting the rules of competition in every industry. Companies are deploying AI that autonomously negotiates with suppliers, writes production-ready code, and manages entire customer relationships at scale, 24 by 7, at a fraction of the cost of human teams. The companies winning with AI aren't just faster, they're fundamentally different. They've industrialized their AI development, turned their data into a competitive moat, and redesigned their workforce to operate at superhuman productivity. An invisible line has already been drawn through every industry. Between those building scalable, defensible AI operations and those still running expensive science projects, the gap is widening fast. Now, before I go further, let me be clear about our perspective. So, we come from a background in cybersecurity and compliance. So, that means that we've seen what happens when companies move too fast without guardrails. But we're not here to pump the brakes on your AI ambitions just yet. I'm here to help you floor the accelerator, but safely. The companies winning with AI aren't choosing between speed and security. They've figured out how to have both. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Because the uncomfortable truth is that for most companies, the biggest barrier to winning with AI, it's not the technology, it's the hidden risk. Last quarter, we saw it very firsthand with one of our clients, a Fortune 500 company. They had discovered that 346 employees were using Google's free version of Gemini with sensitive company data, completely outside of IT's control. That's the reality that holds companies back from scaling their best ideas. So over the next hour, we're going to focus on the playbook for competing and winning. We'll look at what the leaders are doing right now, what the 3-year roadmap to differentiation looks like, and how to build the controls that give you the confidence to move fast. My goal is that you leave here with a clear vision of the future and the practical steps to get there. So with that, let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the opportunity with AI. So the great AI divide is something that's kind of been going around and talked about a little bit. So the question we usually hear is, everybody's talking about this AI divide. What does it really mean to be on the winning side of that division? And I'll start by answering, and then I'll call on you, Chris, to kind of add some color to this. But being on the winning side for us means that AI is not just a series of isolated random science projects. It's a scalable, industrial grade capability that drives your business. The winners have moved past just using AI to mastering it. They have a clear view of their AI operations, a disciplined process for deploying new solutions, and they're using their own proprietary data to create competitive advantages that are absolutely impossible to copy. The simplest test to see where you stand on this scale is to ask your chief information officer, can you show me a complete inventory of every AI tool being used in our business? And what data is being fed into those tools? Now, if they can answer that in real time, you're on the winning side. If there's silence, that is the sound of the AI divide. So with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Chris Anderson, to add a little bit of color to that.
the, with the AI divide, it's really this big division, and it started years ago. And I can remember talking to people about AI and this new technology that came out, and you were looked at it two different ways. Either Terminator is going to kill everything, and this is a non-existent science fiction movie that's never going to exist, and they stick their head in the sand and keep doing what they do, or they're fully on board, completely agree with you and work with you. And what had happened when this first had started years ago, this was much wider because there wasn't truth there wasn't market, there wasn't commercials with all this AI. And as it started coming out, more and more people started seeing, and that started shrinking, and people started kind of shifting over. But I think the biggest thing with this divide is you have to not put your head in the sand, not pretend like it doesn't exist, not be afraid of it. Pandora's box has been opened. At this point, it's a revolution, just like historical other events that have occurred. What we need to do is accept the fact that this is here, this is the now, this is the new fabric of technology, and we need to look at businesses. The problem with where we are now, there's no blueprint, there's no playbook. So, when you go build a car, you can follow a blueprint because they've been built for hundreds of years, decades. This is a new industry. So essentially, you need to embrace it, and you need to work collectively with a high-level technologist that also embraces AI and risk management. So we can look at what are the best ways to implement AI and where to implement them in the business to make you competitive as the world's changing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And to that point, if we kind of look at some companies that are really setting the standard, so to speak, in a completely greenfield type of industry here. So we could look at two things like Chris, we were talking about earlier. So you've got Procter and Gamble, who built what they call an AI factory back in 2023. And that's a centralized platform with approved tools, curated data, and reusable models. So before this, every department, every brand team running around with fragmented AI all over the place. And now they've come full circle so that when a team actually needs something such as demand forecasting or whatever that may be, they're able to deploy a pre-approved model within 48 hours as opposed to 6 months. They've scaled from 5 AI projects to over 150 within 18 months. So that's a 30x increase just by doing it properly and planning. The other example is JP Morgan Chase. So they've publicly stated that they have 3,500 AI engineers building models that detect fraud, automate loans, and also predict movements within the market. And here's the key. They didn't just hire a bunch of data scientists. They built a governance framework so strict that every model has to pass explainability testing before it touches any customer data. So they were able to move fast, but they were moving safely, which is the real key here. The pattern is the same. Industrialize your AI development, govern it ruthlessly, and scale rapidly. That's what we're seeing from the big companies as far as formulating a winning strategy. So the hot topic for this webinar here is kind of the 3-year roadmap. What's everything going to look like in 2028, 2029? So when we think about that, what will the winners have accomplished that those left behind will not? And I could start once again, Chris, and you could add some color. But by 2029, the winners will have done 3 things that other companies just won't. First, they're going to have autonomous operations. Their AI won't just assist them, it will act. Customer service will be handled end to end by AI agents. Supply chain decisions made in real time. Those left behind will still be manually approving every AI suggestion and just ultimately moving slower. Second, they're going to have proprietary AI advantages. So they'll have trained their models on their own unique data, customer behavior, process inefficiencies that competitors just won't be able to replicate. Their data will be their moat. Those left behind will still be using generic off-the-shelf models. And thirdly, they'll have a workforce at 3 times productivity, not because they cut headcount, but because their people are doing the high value work that AI can't. Strategy, creativity, and relationships. Those left behind will still be drowning in the administrative work. So the gap between those two worlds isn't linear, it's exponential. And it's being determined by decisions made today. The company's reaching that point in 2028 and 2029 vision. It all started the same way. You've got to have a 90-day sprint to baseline your AI footprint, identify your highest ROI opportunities, and build your first governance framework. That's the on-ramp to everything else you're going to do with responsible AI. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Chris, to kind of add a little bit of color to that.
Yeah, yeah. There's a methodology. It's called plus AI and AI plus. So when you're running a business, you can do AI plus and plus AI. Now, most businesses are going to start with plus AI, which means, hey, we've got all these gears working, we have all these processes working. We're going to add a little bit of AI on top of that and help expand a little bit. The winning companies are going to learn how to reverse that upside down. They're going to learn how to build their business platform on AI, and then they're going to add people in between the gears where they need human in the loop to verify, confirm AI is working correctly. An example for like a law firm is a good example. So you could have a lawyer drafting contracts all day. That lawyer is working with with a paralegal or 2 paralegals. There's only so many hours that the paralegals can go do all of this research. Ultimately, by the end of the day, the lawyer has to review that because they're the ones on the hook. Well, now you can use something like co-counsel.
Mhm.
Some different AIs that could do a lot of that research. Now, there's cases out there where there's been AI hallucination in cases. It's up to the lawyer, again, human in the loop. It's the
Right.
human that needs to verify that the AI is providing correct information before they give it to the output, to wherever it needs to go next. But this now, all of a sudden, what 1 or 2 paralegals could do, maybe they could do 6 contracts a day or 3 contracts a day. All of a sudden, an AI can do 30 of them. Now the
Exactly.
bottleneck is no longer having 1 or 2 paralegals. The bottleneck is the actual lawyer. And that's kind of where uplifting, skill lifting. It's now a law firm is not hiring more paralegals, they're hiring more lawyers because they can use more AIs with 1 or 2 paralegals who are working with the AIs to help. And now they need more lawyers to verify. But that's one example that you're going to be uplifting, skill lifting, hired
Right.
skilled people because the AI can offset a lot of the medial tasks. Um,
Yeah.
it's really ultimately embracing the AI, looking at your business model, looking at your business processes, and then the first part generally in this kind of phased approach is where can I embed a little bit of AI on what I currently have? And then how do I stabilize it? How do I teach everybody to embrace and be okay with the AI and not oh no, am I going to lose my job? I don't want to do this. I refuse to help because it's going to put me out of a job. And then flip that upside down. How do we insert AI into the actual platform and then train those users to manage and sit on top of the AI, expanding their skills?
Yeah, exactly. Very well put there, Chris. Yeah. So basically, the main thing is having those guardrails. You touched on human in the loop and hallucinations and some of the
Mhm.
common themes that we're seeing with AI today, and it's all about doing it responsibly and making sure that you've got those guardrails in place. So that brings up, or to add on to that, I guess, one of the questions is kind of, hey, am I going to lose my job? Am I going to, what's going to happen with agents and automation and whatnot? So I would say that, is this about automation and headcount reduction? So for most roles, it's about augmentation, not automation necessarily, as had alluded to there. So those falling behind are asking, how can we use AI to cut costs? The leaders are asking a much smarter question. If AI eliminates 60% of this role's tasks, what does the evolved version of this role look like? Then they build the training, incentives, and career paths to support that transformation. So it's all about identifying the uniquely human skills, which are critical thinking, complex problem solving, client relationships, and redesigning jobs around them. The companies that get this right will unlock a massive productivity boom. So now, as we move forward, a little bit more with agents, because that's another really really hot topic right now. So looking ahead, how will
Can I
AI
stop? Can I stop
change?
you for 1 minute? I want to jump.
Absolutely, yeah,
I want to add one more part in this workforce augmentation, maybe
yeah,
just to help understand a little bit more. There's a couple of historical scenarios where this has occurred. The creation of the car, the creation of the drill, the creation of an
right,
excavator. All of these things, what they did was augmented the human that now utilizes that object to be faster. So, for instance, an example with the creation of the drill. But prior to that, you're sitting there either with a nail and hammer or with a hand screwing things in. This drill comes through. Now, an individual might have been able to screw with a screwdriver, 100, 200 screws a day. Now they can do 30,000. The creation of the car. When the car gets created, people are a little bit of afraid. It is putting these horse and buggy people out of business. The other people that did that job, but you retrain someone to use a gas pedal, a brake, a steering wheel, all these little, bolts and knobs everywhere. All of a sudden, you can drive much faster, further. It expanded how the distance a human could work. So a human might have been able to work within 30 miles traveling by horse and buggy. Now with a car, they can travel up to 100 miles, 150
right,
miles to work. And same thing with the excavator. When an excavator was created, that big machine, the big arm that digs in the ground.
yeah,
Prior to that, you might have had to have 30 laborers, 40 laborers sitting there lugging big boulders around, hand digging out a basement, cementing it all together, and taking weeks to build the foundation of a house. Then you come out with this device, you train one human and possibly a few others that operate around the safety of it. And now you've gone from 30 or 40 and you've gone from 2 or 3 weeks down to, yeah, you can use this machine with 4 humans and you can now build the foundation of a house maybe in a week or less than that. So, and then to Mike's point, where do we cut costs? No, how do we expand that? So now we can expand our revenue because if we can
right.
now create a foundation of a house in a week, that means we can create four houses with the same material in a month as opposed to one a month. And then that's where you have to make sure you're training your employees. Look at what is the new job going to entail. It's going to entail learning how to control this AI, learning how to double check the work coming in from this AI, and writing up that job description saying, hey, part of your new job is just like we're putting you in the machine to operate something, we're putting you in behind the wheels of an AI. You're going to drive it and it's going to expand your thought process, your hands, and your skill set by 100-fold, but you're still ultimately responsible. Just like if you were operating that excavator and you smash through someone's car, well, you're the one responsible, not the machine.
Right, exactly. And then back to the AI divide, the successful companies are going to be the ones that augment their workforce, just the way you said there, as opposed to looking at it as, hey, let's cut costs, cut the whole staff here and see what we could save, So well put. And then as we talk on here, we're talking to a lot of business owners. So looking ahead, how will AI change the way we actually sell to and interact with our customers in the near future? So as we look at that, the next major shift is from conversational AI to agentic AI, as we had discussed. So it's the difference between a chatbot that just answers your question and an AI agent that will actually complete the task. So imagine a customer telling your AI, find me the best rated waterproof jacket for hiking that can be delivered by Friday. And the AI doesn't just provide links, it analyzes the reviews, compares features, checks the inventory, and then ultimately completes the purchase. So this is already starting. And for businesses, what it really means is that the point of sale is about to become that conversation with the AI. So your competitive advantage will be how trustworthy, reliable, and effective that your AI actually is. So with that, anything else to add on that, Chris? Or maybe we get into a little bit of enablement and strategy?
Well, yeah, I mean, when we're going into commerce, like, I mean, that also brings up, and again, this is probably why you should be talking to Rachel and the marketing team. But again, before AI, the best way to be seen in front of consumers, website, showing up on Google. Well, nowadays you can sit there and ask your Alexa, "Hey, go order me this," and it's going to do the research.
Right.
So you may not get a human to go onto your website and look at how well your website's designed and how well and go look at the reviews. It could be an AI agent doing that, because when you get into agentic AI, where it's going to start completing those tasks, it's going to make those decisions. Hey, so and so wants a pizza delivered, at dinner time today. It's going to just go ahead and order it, calculate the time, make sure it shows up at dinner. If they need a new pair of shoes, go order me a new pair of Nike shoes. Order me the same ones I had last year. It's going to go find that. It's going to go find the best price, the best place. Now, given this is direct to consumer, so there's a little bit different from business to business, but that's just one thing that needs to be thought of is, if you're like, hey, go find me the highest quality lawyer, the highest quality accountant in my area that I can, you're talking an AI agent using algorithms, researching the reviews, researching the information, and then making the decision to put in front of the human. Here's the phone number to call. So that's one other part with your business that you need to think about from an AI perspective is, how do you get in front of your audience when your audience is going to be communicating with IoT, Internet of Things, around them to be able to procure devices?
Absolutely. All right. So now, as we get into a little bit more of AI enablement and strategy, which we do a lot of work in for all of our clients, partners, so ultimately the investment paradox kind of comes up talking about, a lot of people are spending money on AI, but, where ultimately is the real return on investment, that a lot of people aren't quite seeing yet. Some people talk about a bubble, some different things, but, I'll give my kind of 2 cents here and let Chris add some color. But ultimately, the bottom line is you can't just sprinkle AI on processes that are broken and expect magic. So ultimately, the value comes from redesigning processes around the capabilities of artificial intelligence. It's harder, it requires more discipline, but it's the only path to a defensible return on investment leveraging AI. Anything to add on that one, Chris?
I think really, if we go back to redesigning the job role, that's
Hmm.
the most important piece. Because you could sit here and just, hey, let me buy a license for Copilot. Let me buy a license for ChatGPT. Let me buy a license for this AI, that AI. You could have 40 different AIs. All of a sudden, you're going to have all these monthly, hidden subscriptions that are
Mm,
probably in your personal credit card accounts
yeah,
too.
sprawl.
There's no way to get a return on investment because you're buying these things to do what? So you need to have an idea of, hey, I research the market, understand what the market's doing for whatever industry you're in, and then say, okay, I know the market is doing this with AI. Here's the 3 or 4 different products, and I'm going to create this job role. This is how I should be able to take that human and expand their skill sets using this AI. And then you purchase it and apply it, train that user, because now you can measure the ROI. They should, in theory, get a 20, 30, 40% increase in productivity.
Right, exactly. And it's a business analysis, that we would do and take a look at how are you running things, what would be your biggest bang for your buck and highest ROI, and then take that process and then just take AI and put that in there to really amp up the effectiveness and return on investment ultimately. So then as we look at like data strategy, so a question we got here. So we're eager to deploy more advanced AI, but we're worried that our data is not ready. How important is it to have a perfect data strategy first? So, Chris, if you want to answer that one, I can start once again. But ultimately, an AI strategy without a data strategy is hallucination. So you don't need to pick, you don't have to have perfect data strategy, but you do need to have very intentional data strategy. Your AI models are only as good as the data that they are trained on. So leaders aren't trying to boil the ocean. They're starting with a single, as we just spoken about, high value use case and building a pristine, well governed data set specifically for it, treating that proprietary data as the most valuable asset in their entire AI stack. It's not just about the tools. It's the one thing that your competitors cannot copy, and it is your competitive moat. So with that, Chris?
I mean, from a data strategy, it's very important that you have accurate data. Think about a microphone. When you sit there in front of an audience with a microphone and speak into it, it amplifies your voice to your entire audience. So if you take trash data into your system, it's going to amplify and you're just going to have multiples of trash coming out. If
Yeah,
you take very good high quality data into your system, it's going to amplify the high quality output. So it's very important that when you start using your AI, you're not simply just purchasing something, connecting it to what you currently have without any type of strategy. You need to make sure you've got clean strategy coming in so that you have amplified clean output.
absolutely. Yeah, garbage in, garbage out. And then on AI, it's basically on steroids there. So you got to make sure you've got your data set. So one thing we're also running into a lot, when we talk about AI is risk and governance. So this is kind of, our background, cybersecurity compliance. So therefore, it's not just saying, hey, let's deploy AI wherever, however we can, but it's also responsible AI, guardrails, et cetera. So a big issue that we're seeing right now specifically, and that we're going to continue to see that we are trying to mitigate and work towards, shadow AI, right? So what's shadow AI? That's the AI that's being leveraged without the knowledge of the business. So some companies we've tried to ban unapproved AI tools, but it feels like a losing battle. So is there a better approach? And that they're absolutely right. So banning AI is a losing battle. The realistic approach would be to shift your mindset from prohibition to visibility. You cannot govern what you can't see. So the first step is a baseline sprint to discover your actual AI footprint. So as we had mentioned before, that we found 346 employees that were using Google's free version of Gemini at a large company that we work with, and they thought they had it locked down. So once you have that map, you could see that you're not just dealing with a few unsanctioned apps here and there. You're dealing with completely undocumented network of external data processors. So that's when you take it to your board, not as employee discipline, but as ungoverned data exfiltration with uninsured liability. Now you've got the board's attention. So anything to add there on the shadow AI issue, Chris?
Yeah, I run into it all the time.
Yeah.
And some of the bigger things I run into, people are just getting, they're scrolling through their Facebook stream, their LinkedIn stream, they see this new AI thing, they click a button and they go buy something. Well, I get asked about it and I go, look, I mean, I have numerous examples where I go look at their terms and conditions. They were put together just trashed. Like there's no privacy policy. It's like, hey, go to section 2 of terms and conditions, and that's how your liability. Well, I go to section 2, and it talks about something completely different. It's very clear that the website was built by AI without
Yeah,
no thought behind it. And so, what's happening now? You can use AI to build products. People are just spinning products up all over the place. They'll
constantly.
spin
Yep.
up 50 products and throw a couple of, because it's very cheap to do nowadays, and then they'll just go sell it, and then they run with the ones that work, the ones that they just go out of business and say see you later.
Yeah.
um
Just putting wrappers
and
around different large language models, basically.
well, and really, quite honestly, that's really what it is. Everything at this point, there's like 4 or 5 core AIs in the world, LLMs. Everything else is just wrappers. So I mean, if you think about gasoline. Like there's gas. It's commoditized. And LLMs, and everyone thinks, is this going to be a big, is this going to take over the whole world? No, LLMs are going to be commoditized. Information is going to be commoditized. If you're using the same ChatGPT that everybody else is using, you guys have the exact same information. Your outputs are going to be slightly different based on your inputs, but for the most part, it's the same. That's why what Mike was saying, your moat, your value is when you're building your own LLMs or your own SLMs internally using your information, because now you're creating a competitive advantage because you have information that is not shareable, that's not been commoditized, and that's not across the entire industry. And then it creates more value to your particular client base because you know more about them. There's so much more that you can provide for value when you start building it that way.
Right. Absolutely. All right. And then,
But that's
yeah,
just that's a little that's some of the shadow AI, but that really falls into the IT, the shadow IT and
right.
examples, and these are concerns too. Pretty much everyone uses ChatGPT. You don't provide your employees a company account, they're going to go use a free account because that's how they're succeeding. The problem with the free account, all that information is training the public AI. So you could accidentally put in proprietary information. They could upload your handbook and say, can you summarize this for me? Can you find well, all of a sudden your handbook just went public because it's all over the LLM and it's training the LLM now.
And we see it all the time. Yep.
Yeah. And so it's important that you figure out if what they're using it for, and make sure you give them the right tools that are secure. Another example, education. I mean, that's a perfect example. You've got the next generation that's coming up. You have teachers that are trying to teach these kids. They're using ChatGPT. Colleges last year don't use AI. You're not allowed to use AI. It's illegal to use it. Everyone's going to use it because if you don't, you're not going to produce an essay or documents better. So the kids are using it. Now all of a sudden there's a shift. Now the colleges, no, you can use AI now, but we expect a dissertation for your English 101 class because you should be amplifying the output. And they're saying this is the proper way to do it. AI shouldn't be writing it for you. AI should be helping you gather the information, you should be checking sources. Maybe it's helping you review the sources, and then you're doing drafts and iterating through. But now all of a sudden you have a PhD dissertation to be able to, that's how they're shifting now. And that's what needs to happen in business. Oh, sorry, that's an expense. I'm not getting you that. No, that's an expense, but it's also going to amplify the results. So I'm going to pay for that, but I expect you to have a 40, 50, 60% return on that.
Right. Yeah. And leveraging those governed tools. Absolutely. Okay. So shifting a little bit, staying on the governance and risk and shadow AI stuff. So agentic AI liabilities, right? So there's a question there when you think about the automation, the augmentation, and you've got agents that are doing things in commerce and whatnot. So, maybe if we expand a little bit on the risks. So, agentic AI is the most significant leap in capability and risk that we've seen in our lifetime. So the difference is simple. Assistants suggest, agents act. An AI agent can be given a budget and a goal, and it'll negotiate with suppliers and execute a purchase order without any human intervention. The uncomfortable truth is that these AI employees are already active in many businesses. The governance model for a tool that suggests email copy is fundamentally different from one that can actually spend the company's money. So most companies are applying assistant level governance to agent level risks. And that's a massive blind spot right there. So maybe we could elaborate a little bit on that. Chris, what's that look like? When you've got agents that are acting, that are able to purchase, negotiate, and do other things, how do you mitigate some of that hallucination and some of the other things that we've touched on?
Well, that's exactly where you have to shift from a plus AI to an AI plus. So you don't go from, hey, here's all these automated systems that are doing this, that, and everything else. Now you have a procurement officer that their day is no longer negotiating the contract, but their day is, oh, I got these 3 contracts that this agent negotiated. I need to review them against our guidelines internally and our SOPs. And if they look correct, if I need to modify, if I need to jump in as the human to take that over, But what you need to do is, as you're looking at the fabric of these automated systems, you allow, when you structure it, you create these agentic AIs that can communicate. But when the output of that is going to create a binding contract or a perception or public relations, it needs to be verified by a human who needs to take ownership and accountability from the organization before it gets released.
Yep, absolutely. All right, perfect. All right, so I'll do one more of these, and then maybe we'll turn it over to Donna to give us some Q&A directly from the chat there. But I know one thing that everybody's going to want to take away from this is, if you can only take one thing back to the board of directors, what should it be? And it should really be a single, simple question. Have we qualified our unmanaged AI risk? Because what most boards don't realize is that unmanaged AI risk, it's not just a liability, it's the primary bottleneck preventing you from scaling your best AI opportunities. So when leadership can't confidently say, yes, we have this under control, we know everything that's going on, it's naturally going to slow down the adoption of the artificial intelligence that's going to make your business really expand exponentially. So quantifying the risk removes that bottleneck and accelerates the growth strategy. So really, as we look at AI and having it accelerate the business, ultimately it comes down to, once again, we keep going back to it, but it's governance, it's guardrails, it's an AI acceptable use policy to start, a 90-day sprint, low hanging fruit with the highest ROI, et cetera, to really amplify the business and succeed over the next 3 years. So Chris, with that, maybe I'll have you add a little bit to that one before we start taking some Q&A.
Yeah, I mean, really, that one's you answered most of it. It's really the liability, and the board members need to understand they are the ones that have to do care due diligence. They are fully liable for that business.
Right.
AI is proven, one, if you don't use it, you're going to go out of business. So they need to understand adopting AI as a necessity just to stay in business. And two, when you are using AI, everyone's put the head in the sand. Whatever AI output is, it's AI's problem. No, it's not. If an employee is binded to the organization, if they make a decision based on the AI, or the AI says something without a human in the loop double checking it, it's fully the responsibility of the organization. So from a board perspective, it's a double-edged sword, right? It's going to affect the downside, the risk of it. It's also going to affect the upside and your growth potential.
Yeah, absolutely. And then one thing before we go to the Q&A that I have here is kind of, the AI talent war. So how could we compete when, we can't go and pay these AI experts, with PhD level talent, what Google or OpenAI is paying them, and to that we would say, like, so I mean, number one, the good news is that the war for that AI talent is, kind of already here. But the new competition's about who can upskill their existing workforce the fastest. So your best enabled marketing manager is not a data scientist that you go out and hire. It's going to be a great marketing manager that you actually teach how to leverage AI effectively. So then, when that's all said and done, the winners are building internal training programs, as we had touched on, creating clear career paths for AI enablement roles, and ultimately focusing on practical role-specific AI skills. So they're not trying to outbid Google for researchers and whatnot. It's building a workforce that knows how to apply AI to their real business problems and opportunities. So with that, Donna, there she is.
Hello. I facilitate these discussions all the time, and of course, I'm constantly checking out information, and I swing back and forth between being terrified and totally
Everybody
inspired.
does.
Mm-hmm.
I do myself too. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm really good at this stuff, but you know what? You're right. It could destroy us. But also, go look at how many molecules, look, cancer cures, it's coming. There's stuff spitting out all the time. So, and it's really, you take a gun, it doesn't matter. Who is holding it? who is operating it? You could put someone behind a car. They could crack, you put a 2-year-old behind a car and a 30-year-old with a license. One of them is going to go through a house.
I agree. And I say to everyone, this is like the internet. I mean, this is,
Yes.
well, this is just as revolutionary as when I opened my business, there were no websites. And I think any business, no matter what the economic, political, business climate is, you either evolve or you die. So,
Hmm.
one of the things I really like that we do here at the Business Growth Roundtable is we try to equip people for that growth. And the other thing that I feel very strongly on is because I work primarily with SMBs and even, on the smaller side of businesses, my feeling is small businesses that want to be small giants need to think like big businesses. So it's almost like, wearing the outfit for the job you want. So even
Yep.
though some of this, I don't have a board and this governance seems a little bit beyond me, but it's how we have to think. We have to take that same rationale and apply it at our size. So we've got questions here. So let me not, usually I take up the Q&A with my comments, but that would be pretty self-centered, wouldn't it? Okay. So from Stan Robinson, um, how do you advise clients who have mission-critical processes using bad legacy data, which is not suited for AI going forward? Is there a way to clean up past data to make it AI ready, or is this prohibitively expensive for most businesses?
It was. It used to be. It may not be now. There's a lot of moving parts to your question right there. What data, what are you in databases? Is this on yellow pieces of paper that have to get scanned into digital files? So there's not a lot of context, but to answer your question, regardless, actually, in fact, even if it was yellow pieces of paper, you could scan that
Right.
into a dataverse and then have an AI extract that information. So prior to AI, it was hard to prepare it for AI, but you can now use AI to
Yeah,
prepare
right.
your data for AI, which is, it's a different concept because you're not one AI is designed to extract the data and provide it in front of you, but the second AI is designed to intake the data and put it into the prepared version that the second AI is going to look at. When you design a way to design accurate AI, you might have two different AIs, right? And you want it to create something. One might be called the student, one might be called the teacher. So you ask it a question, the student, and it goes and produces something. The teacher, essentially AI, looks at that and grades it. When it gets above a 96%, it provides it to the human. So if the teacher looks and grades it at a 60, hey, it asked for a horse and you gave me a cow, it goes back, do it again. And it keeps reiterating until the second one grades it. Okay, that's a high enough grade. We'll put that in front of the human. And that's essentially what you can do with this type of data is you would work with you have to look at what your particular infrastructure is, where your data is, what you're looking to accomplish with that data. And then we look at an AI that can take that input as an output into a Dataverse or a SharePoint, wherever those repositories are going to
Right.
lay, so that you can then set up the second AI in your operation.
Right. Absolutely. And to add to that, as we had touched on before, when it comes to data, garbage in, garbage out. Right. So if you take what you've got and throw it into some kind of large language model or whatever that may be, you're going to get garbage. It's going to be just a complete mess. So I guess the answer is simple, not easy. It takes a lot of due diligence. It's going to be a lot of making sure that you massage that data. But as Chris said, you can now use AI to do that. So it's a matter of being educated, understanding what you've got, and then ultimately taking that and putting it into a form where you're going to get the best results from it. High level, obviously, we don't know the exact environment, but we are working on this currently with multiple partners of ours. So
Yeah, and I think, Stan, the last part of Stan's question was, or is this prohibitively expensive? I think it's prohibitively expensive to not get the data right. And I
Correct.
do think it is
good
a
way to put it, Donna.
combination,
Yeah.
right? It's a combination of automation and manual. And I
Right.
think
Yep.
the automation guides you to what you should be looking for. I mean, I know I use Zoho for my CRM, and there's a fabulous new button that says Enhance Data. And I
Yep.
hit it, and it goes out to the internet, and it enhances my record. It adds, size of company, industry. So I think a lot of this conversation still comes back to the skill lifting and
Hmm.
communication around these small things that you can do so that you make sure your entire team is incorporating them. So,
Mhm.
anonymous question. Do you anticipate any forthcoming policy coming on AI? Will we see the government put restraints on what or how it's being implemented?
Oh,
So, well, one, there's
absolutely.
already
Yeah.
there's already policies. Microsoft has frameworks and pillars. NIST is another compliance one that has specific playbooks and compliance. So there are scattered AI policies. The EU has one as well right now. So they're coming out all over the place. The problem that you run into, you can't, and again, there's, the current administration, probably not. It's going to stay fairly wide open. Um, but you can't put too many cuffs on it because it requires creativity and entrepreneurs to come out with the best of the best. So I think what you're going to more see are guidelines, and you're going to have specific policies on the utilization of AI. So like, are you utilizing AI to create child porn? Yeah, that's going to be illegal. Are you utilizing AI to do really just malicious activities,
Right.
going in and doing supply chain attacks? So are you reviewing bank statements, not for the business, but you're reviewing multiple company bank statements to look at connections to figure out how to inject yourself in a supply chain to work your way back down to that target company? So I mean, right now, the guidelines are the Microsoft pillars, the guidelines are the NIST frameworks. Those are going to provide your best, like, here are the very specific rules that you should be following, that you should be thinking about when you're utilizing AI. Um, and then, and then from there, you'll start seeing, I think, specific legal frameworks on the application and utilization of those AIs.
Yeah, and to add on that, Chris, it's people, process, technology, and there's already a tug of war going on, but at the state level and the federal level, kind of going back and forth, as you had alluded to, the current administration um, wants it to be pretty open to expand on innovation, and some states kind of disagree with that philosophy and are putting a lot more guardrails and things around it to make it safer potentially, but which also may indirectly affect innovation there. So, with that said, Chris had said there are frameworks that are already out that are continuing to evolve. We're actually working directly with NIST on their new AI framework for AI. There is one already out, version 1.0. So, what I would say is, work with a qualified AI implementer that will help you choose the um, compliance mechanism and framework of your choice that fits your business, and then ultimately take that as a starter as these laws and different things such as the EU Act, et cetera, evolve and come more on a federal level to the United States.
Oof, hoofa. And I also think, the market's going to regulate it. That's what's, this is, we're in a capitalistic country. Um,
Right.
so I've got a lot of questions here, and there are two groups. So I'm going to group these two, and I don't know if these are things that you guys feel comfortable talking about. I know if Vicky's there, she could help as well. But we have a pretty good representation of nonprofits here. So the nonprofits are asking, how should they be using AI outside? I think it's easy to see operationally how you should use AI and how you can, eliminate repetitive tasks and save money. But I think the question that's coming from the nonprofits is, how are we using it to build? Can we use it to build community? How do we use it to augment that human connection, which is really what drives these nonprofit community-based organizations forward.
And Chris, I'll kind of hand that one over to you. I know Chris has a ton of experience and background working with and in nonprofits, and also our company, Stealth Technology Group, work with a ton of nonprofits. So, Chris,
I work extensively with some high level board members and executives in nonprofits and leveraging AI. I'm trying to think of some good use cases for what you're talking about here. Um, I think the way we have more utilized it currently is by getting donors in front of the board members or in front
Mm,
of the managers faster and more appropriately. So what the way I've done some of this is we would build out AI projects. And to give you an example, maybe someone has a meeting with a city clerk or a city councilor, or there's a new city councilor that just got on board, and you need to make sure they want to understand your mission. I've utilized AI in nonprofits to learn about that individual and use the AI. Here's our mission. Now go through all of their information and figure out emotionally how to connect them to the mission, whether it's something with their kid,
right.
something with their family members,
Mhm.
and then go scour the internet, go look at their university trainings and figure out how to connect their education and their thought process to this mission, and then help me prepare a conversation. I've even worked with nonprofits where the AI goes back and forth on here, let's chat back and forth. I'll pretend like I'm this town council, or I'll pretend like I'm this deputy chief. Let's have a quick chat back and forth, and I'll explain from my perspective, and it really helps them. And again, that works actually really well in legal as well. But it helps them prepare for that meeting so that they're not really going in blind off the cuff. The system's already gathered how can I emotionally connect to this person and get them to understand my mission. And then on a side note, this actually works really well with lawyers. Lawyers they could be building up their case to go to trial, and they might have to go in front of a judge. They can actually design an AI to think like the judge, potentially be more biased, or think like the opponent, and have a back and forth case, a live case with it, and it will pick out and pick it apart. And then at the end of it, hey, spit me out a summary of where I need to improve my argument so that I don't get caught in it.
Yeah. And to that point, that goes back to the example I used earlier about JP Morgan Chase. So they've got an entire LLM that they set up, and, kind of doing those kind of back and forths really helps out for lawyers, a nonprofit that's reaching out to donors, or sales, working on your sales pitch and going back and forth with objections and things like that. But, as I think about the question, I would say it really will help to enable connections based on the mission of the nonprofit and getting the right people in the right rooms with the right people saying the right things.
I
So that
agree.
that
And
really, oh,
again, sorry, go ahead,
I was
Chris.
going to say, so that really kind of goes back to the upskilling. It's not you turnkey buy this thing and AI does it all for you.
That's
It's the
right.
human is
That's
using the
right.
AI to now
That's right.
create a better conversation to connect emotionally.
That's right. And you talked early on about creating a situation where we're working on the high value end of the tasks. And I do think
Right.
whether it's building community, and the other big bucket of questions was, which I did not get to, but join us in February. We'll spend an entire hour talking about it. But how are we generating leads? How are we
Oh
Mm,
building
yeah.
community? How are we generating leads using AI? And and at the most basic way, it's easy list gen. It's definitely, getting your talking points. It's understanding the data that's important to them. So I do think that AI, certainly where I've been using it, is in all that foundational work that happens before you pick up the phone and make a phone call,
Yep.
right? So
absolutely.
well, there were a couple of questions that we didn't get to, and I apologize for that. Um, Great conversation. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Michael. This is a conversation that we're just going to keep having until we all move to where we need to be. And I really have to say, the thing that I took away from this is plus AI and then AI plus. I
Yes.
totally get that.
Hmm.
Last
Yes.
question in our 1 minute. So we have this business growth roundtable, and we're covering lots of different topics. Um, if someone said to me, "Who are the 5 people I should follow if I'm interested in leadership?" I could rattle off 5 names. Do either one of you have a source that, or a person, or an influencer that you feel is really worth following in terms of, this is like a whole nother hat that we all have to wear. How do we learn enough about AI to be effective? What are you reading? What are you following?
Hmm. I don't really follow anything. My any of my free time pretty much is my head's just in a textbook from MIT usually. I'm usually down at the MIT bookstore buying books and just going through books. I at the problem is everyone you follow nowadays is just a regurgitation, leveraging AI to spit something else out. So I prefer to go right to the source with the newest stuff
Hmm.
coming out.
Kudos to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things is that all this information is just
Yeah,
being produced
Yeah,
massive
like I
scales,
mean, you
and
can
what's
just
out there
record
is just,
this. You can
yeah,
have AI summarize it and go do another one.
yep,
And now all of a
yep,
sudden
yep.
your
yep,
source came from
yep,
me
yep.
regurgitated. So it doesn't make sense to follow anymore.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
And real quick, right now, somebody I watch a lot to learn about how to kind of leverage the different AI tools for what we do in cybersecurity and compliance. Network Chuck on YouTube is great. Another guy, Perry Belcher, I follow. He's kind of a unique character in the marketing space and things like that. But he just had an AI bot summit talking about a lot of the different, party tricks that you could do, different tools that are coming out and things like that. But that's kind of where my head's been, and also to Chris's point, just scholarly things, from MIT or whatever it is to kind of really understand the nuts and bolts of deep neural networks and different things like that that go on within LLMs so that it's not just this black box technology. So just trying to understand that stuff a little bit more.
Great. Well, thank you all for helping us to understand this all just a little bit more. So join us next month. And until then, wishing you all that you need to get to where it is you're trying to go. Thank you, gents. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
Don.
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.